Great peace, great Wabasha. Before the days went on, I wanted to briefly touch on the enslavery that Indians and Moors put on to the children of Europa, who we call Romans modernly, and also Caucasians, pale people, and other names. The thing that I noted throughout reading this book by Hezekiah Butterworth is that the people who were coming to these lands looking for a better lot in life, the women treated them like, here it is, unburied. The women treated them with a certain level of dignity, but the tribes, when you talk about the savages, they treated them very cruelly. But again, what would you expect when you have a people who treated each other cruelly as Indians? So there's a debate going on, like who had to do what with Europeans, and like who had to do what with their enslavement, and who was more brutal. Now we hear about Moors like helping them in wars and stuff like that, and we hear about Moors basically taking their women and using them as concubines and stuff like that. But when you really look at that history, like Indians were very brutal when you talk about like all of the wars that were going on and taking place with them in the middle of it. Indians would scalp them. Indians would attack their women. They would do things like basically make sacrifices. So when you look at Indians or Moors, they're the same people, but obviously their politic is very different throughout history. Moors, they were more so on the side of keeping peace. They were more so on the side of restoring faith throughout like the old histories that they knew of. Indians, they were the opposite of that. Again, Indians, they dealt with very gruesome attacks. But again, they also themselves lived in peace. They were just more so out of the way. They didn't want any incoming economies, and they didn't want to do anything with the outside world. So when you see stuff like this, and it says Mad Anthony, Major Andre, those are our people. And you can see right here, it has takes events in Easttown, Chester County, Pennsylvania in 1745. And during that time, it was us living there as well. So you're talking about people that's going westward. They're coming in on land, and they're trying to avoid Indian settlements, and they're trying to avoid Indian attacks. So they're building new routes. They're building new transporting ways, and that's basically what they're doing. They're trying to avoid Indians because they knew it would bring on a onslaught of battles that they didn't want to deal with. So you're talking about soldiers under a person named General Wayne, and you also talking about people who were like kind of people named General Arthur. So I'll just read this little page right here, and I'll close out. But that's what I briefly wanted to touch on, like who were more savage. Because if you go back to 2016 onward, the narration is that, Moors were the ones who were savage. But again, it's semantics. You can call Indians Moors, you can call Moors Indians, you know, because they're basically the same people. They just come under different faiths, under different beliefs. But you know, these are people who you would modernly call African Americans. If you are in America right now, you know who's an Indian without God, and you also know who is a Moor. These are people who have a peace about them. So you automatically can tell the difference between someone who is brash and who is very smooth in their approach. You can tell the difference between an Indian and a Moor is basically what I'm saying. So let's read this. At the end of June, 34 Chippewas arrived from Michigan for a peace conference. This was important, for the tribe was the strongest in the Northwest, and all others were likely to follow them. Wayne saw that the 4th of July that year could be made glorious, that it could be made an event ever to be sacred to the memory of the American Union. He said to the assembled chiefs on July 3rd, "You are welcome to my heart. I kindle the fires with a willing hand. You will be protected here. Tomorrow is July 4th, the day on which this nation proclaimed herself free from Britain. We celebrated with the booming of cannon and parades. But do you not fear? The parade is not intended to do you harm. Join us in the celebration. You will be with our nation now." So you can see right there, the Union, well, pretty much the Confederacy. The Union and Confederacy are just like the same people. You have the Confederacies. They deal with a different language. Throughout history, they said to be in the South. You have the Union that deal with a different language. They are said to be in the North. So you have the Union that are helping slaves, and you have the Confederacy that are helping slaves, but they're helping them in their own way. So the North thing was they wanted to be free from like some of the different protectorates. Like you have South Carolina would be an semblance of the Confederacy and Great Britain, and then you have places like there were more distance as far as colonization. That was said to be like a free place, like the Great Lakes of Michigan, which you can see here at the top. It mentions the Chippewas. So the Chippewas would be their own uniform of people. They will wear different colors than other tribes or other cavalries. And you know, these people are people that are amongst us today. I can be saying this now and I know that one of my great-grandparents was a Chippewa. So all you have to do is, you know, look up your surname and look at the maps back then and see where that surname was. And like when I look up my surname, I can see that my people were in the Dutch Republic of New York. They were in Ohio. They were in Illinois, and they were in Iowa. But obviously, it don't show that they were in Mississippi prior to like 1850 and between 1840. But you know, those are just migrational patterns. Our people will leave a certain place, and obviously they will come back to that place. So talking about people that went northward and that went southward, and also they went westward and eastward. So that's us in the gist. But you know, don't get it twisted. Indians, they by being them, although dealing with government, they were much more, I would say, more of a jihadist in their way of dealing with immigrants and migrants. And obviously you can see that today. If you go to places like Chicago, Philadelphia, you go to places like Jackson, Mississippi, parts of Florida, like you will see how our people are, you know, as far as like dealing with matters in government. You know, some deal with it at the flick of an index finger, you know, dealing with guns. And you have other people that, you know, more so calm, cool, and collected. They deal with things more so an approach of pen and pencil and paper. So it's just a matter of knowing and a matter of belief. You can pretty much see that while times have changed, you know, much haven't changed. So that's where we're at, and I'll close out. That should be it.